Now watch this serve. Do you see that tension? The way he pulled back and pulled up instead of pulling through the ball. Now that's the explanation for exactly why it's topspin, but you don't even have to see that you don't have to specifically see that it was because he pulled back or because he pulled up or because he contacted the ball slightly different. You don't have to see any of that. You just have to recognize this looks different. This looks different to all the serves that were very clearly underspin. It might still be underspin. Maybe he just has a different variation where it's somehow still underspin. But the fact that he's done something different and done an action that's similar to the first one which you popped up should be setting off alarm bells. It should be setting off an alarm that this is probably topspin. And so even if you don't see exactly what the contact is, you don't see that he pulled up, you don't see that he pulled back, the fact that it's different, the fact that now suddenly, when everything before was very clearly underspin, and now you can't tell, is your sign that it's topspin. And so that one, just from pattern recognition, you should be able to go through. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Louie here, and welcome to a brand new VOD review. I am super excited to do this one because we are going to be looking at the second match from Foles 99. If you all remember, I did one of his matches a few months ago, so if you haven't seen that, go ahead and watch it now. I've got the link in the description below. But to summarize, here are the notes from last time. Firstly, I mentioned that he needs to practice his serves a lot. There were a lot of loose balls, a lot of balls that were just getting hit because of the serve. So I told him during the practice session, at least 30 minutes of that needs to be 100% focused on serving and getting into the proper ready position. Whoever's idle is, just copy that, what they do for the ready position, and try to have a single motion that can generate topspin, side spin, and underspin. And then I also mentioned that the underspin and side spin variations should have the capability for the ball to bounce at least twice on the opponent's side, and the underspin one specifically should ideally come back toward the net. And then to go along with this, I want to see him serve with more purpose, so instead of just kind of serving and reacting, serve to set something up for the next shot. Do you want to loop? Do you want to push? Do you want to block? Do you want to play a forehand? Do you want to play a backhand? Where is your opponent most likely to play? What do you want to play, and how can you achieve that? Most important thing I mentioned last video was the finger. So he had a habit of raising his index finger so that it was going up the rubber instead of being across the rubber where it should be. So I'm giving him 3 strikes in this video. That is, if I see more than 3 instances or 3 points where his finger goes up the rubber where it shouldn't be, then he will strike out, and I will close the VOD and give him the same notes and tell him to come back next time. And then I also said to trust his intuition more when returning serves. So for example, if you're dealing with an opponent with a very tricky serve and you pop one out because it's topspin, if he does the exact same serve and it looks the same, assume that it is the same until your opponent proves otherwise. I explained this last point in a lot of detail in the last video, so again, if you're not 100% sure what I mean, just go ahead and watch that first. But anyway, we have submission 2. USATT is 682, club rating is now 1216. So that's a good jump. You're about 100 points better at your club, and USATT has gone up as well, so congratulations. That is solid improvement, and hopefully we get to see this continue to go up, but looks like we are on the right trajectory. No practice at university close to the end of semester during summer, so I played the league 1 time a week. That's fine. But practice serves for about 20 to 30 minutes. So that's good. Pendulum, reverse pendulum, and backhand. And then switch to multi-ball and finish with matches. Okay, this was a friendly match with a higher rated player after league matches were done. Stuck with the backhand serves because I felt I needed more practice with the other ones. Still need practice, but the transition is easier. Okay, great. So I'll be just looking for, again, a good ready position. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I just want it to be better. And then again, I want to see you serving with purpose here. So I'm hoping to see more of a transition, or I'm hoping to see more of an attempt at anticipation instead of just serving and reacting. And I know this is a little bit older, so maybe this is even better now. I apologize for the delay getting to this. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Our protagonist is the player on this side of the table. And I haven't watched anything just yet, but let's see what we got. Very nice. Very, very nice. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That serve is 500,000,000 times better than the serves in your last match. It's like I'm watching a totally different player. It's no wonder your rating went up. That is such a good serve. I'm just going to put on the screen what your serves look like a couple months before this. And then look at this again. Oh my goodness. Look at that. That is so good. That is so much better. That's fine. That's fine. Nice. Okay, so your fundamentals look so much better, which is exciting because now we get to do some of the fun stuff. So everything here is great. The serve return is great. Your footwork is great. You come out, and everything up to here is great. Now you're at a point where it's time to loop. You kept your return nice and tight. It was low. It was in a spot where you get a predictable angle. That right there is your opportunity to attack. So I don't want you to take this as attack every ball. There's a very specific reason I'm telling you to attack this one. And it's because you had a nice tight return in a spot which gave you a predictable ball. And in addition to that, he popped it up a little bit. So, right idea, and honestly, everything else looked great. That's fine. It's very good. That's really, really good. Not bad, not bad. Swing is a little bit too big on your forehand. So, I guess the way to describe it is you want to try and have as direct of a shot as possible against topspin. So when you have an underspin ball and you're trying to loop it, you can have a pretty big backswing because you have time. And you're also trying to convert the spin, so you need a little bit more force. But here, you see how you reached back, you lift, and then after you reached back, you lifted up, and then you came down again, and then you swung through the ball. We need to get rid of all that extra motion before the shot. So, watch it again here. I'll go frame by frame. So, this is fine. Your ready position looks a lot better as well. Paddle is nice and high. Watch again. So, you pull back, then you pull up, then you pull down, then you start swinging forwards. And it's just too much. And I'm going to show you now where you should have stopped your backswing. It's fine. It's fine. Right here. That's where you should be swinging from. Even this is a little bit too low and a little bit far down. If you had your paddle like this distance back, but slightly higher, like right here, against topspin, this is the absolute maximum that you should be pulling back. And then from that point, just go directly forwards. But anything more than that is just overcooking the shot. And now where you finish is almost good. If you had managed to freeze and stop your paddle right here without pulling it down, that would have been great. And there's a couple reasons for this. So firstly, if the paddle is finishing at the same spot, it's going to be stable, it's nice and consistent. It means you have solid technique every time. But more importantly, if your paddle's now down here, after you've played that shot, what are you going to do? Like now your paddle's here, it's pretty out of position. What are you going to do if he blocks it back to your forehand? Well, now you've got to reset, bring your paddle up, bring it back. and it's just too much. This is a really good spot for ready position, because from this spot you can basically be watching your opponent, and from that spot you can directly pull back to your backhand or back to your forehand, and so it'll be very stable. You don't want to have this sort of double recovery where you finish here, then you pull the paddle down, then you pull it back to the forehand, then you go back. It's just too many steps. I know I'm criticizing here, but I do want to mention that overall the technique looks so much. The backhand technique, by the way, looks fantastic as well. But I do want to point out that your technique is a million times better. Like, your finger is better, which is why we can work on some of this stuff now. It looks a lot better. Very nice. Very, very nice. Okay, so this is tough. The very first serve he gave you had this action. So if we look at the first serve he gave you, and this is something that's tough to pick up on initially. So I don't expect you to see this every time, but I'm just pointing it out so that in the future, if you have something like this, you'll have a better time seeing it. But the first serve he gave was pretty deceptive. It was very tough. Like, maybe it was very tough to see exactly what he's doing just from watching the contact. But the biggest giveaway is he pulls directly up after the contact and then twiddles his paddle, which is irrelevant, but he kind of pulls directly up. And now if we look at the second serve he gives, he still does the paddle twiddle, but look at where he pulls. He pulls directly through the ball and doesn't pull back or up at all. And like I mentioned in the last video, it's very clear that this one is underspin. So the first serve is tricky. It's like, is it topspin? Is it underspin? I don't know. It could be either. It's a very deceptive motion. Fine. This second serve, very clearly underspin. He pulls straight through the ball. And then every other serve he gives you is underspin, where he pulls straight through the ball. And you're reading them really well. That's a new action, but fine. He gives you one forehand serve, you do your serves. He does another forehand serve. It's fine. Now watch this serve. Do you see that tension? The way he pulled back and pulled up instead of pulling through the ball. Now that's the explanation for exactly why it's topspin, but you don't even have to see that you don't have to specifically see that it was because he pulled back or because he pulled up or because he contacted the ball slightly different. You don't have to see any of that. You just have to recognize this looks different. This looks different to all the serves that were very clearly underspin. It might still be underspin. Maybe he just has a different variation where it's somehow still underspin. But the fact that he's done something different and done an action that's similar to the first one which you popped up should be setting off alarm bells. It should be setting off an alarm that this is probably topspin. And so even if you don't see exactly what the contact is, you don't see that he pulled up, you don't see that he pulled back, the fact that it's different, the fact that now suddenly, when everything before was very clearly underspin, and now you can't tell, is your sign that it's topspin. And so that one, just from pattern recognition, you should be able to go through. That was such a good serve. That's fine, that's fine. Just remember, the better your serve, well, two things. The better your serve, the more predictable your opponent's return is going to be. And also, the spinnier your serve, the more spin it's going to come back with. This, in my opinion, was your best serve of the match. This was incredibly spinny, like as spinny as my serve. So this was really, really, really good. So you pull through the ball, very, very spinny. And he's not giving you a very active return. He's, for the whole match, just been putting his paddle in the way. You've got so much side spin on the ball that at this point, you should be gearing up for forehand. And understand that if he's not putting a lot of spin on the ball, you've got a ton of side spin that's gonna pull the ball out this way. And if I'm not mistaken, it's very hard to see. It looks like he either has pips or anti-spin. It's hard to see, but he has some sort of funky rubber on one of the sides, it looks like, but it doesn't really seem to be making a difference as it relates to how predictable everything's going to be. Very nice. Yeah, same mistake. Nice. So good, so good. That was absolutely perfect. You haven't seen this serve yet. You weren't sure what it was, but you assumed topspin, and good things happen. That was really, really good. Yeah, I don't know if it's anti-spin or what it is, or just like a very, very thin sponge, but I wouldn't overthink it because it's not doing anything too crazy to the ball. But your game looks really good. Yeah, we need to just tidy up the technique on the forehand. And something else I'd like to see now is just more variation on the serve placement. So you've got a lot of serves to this spot, and you've got a couple of patterns. When he returns with the red side, he generally plays cross court, and you get a chance to attack with your backhand. When he twiddles and plays with the black side, he's normally pushing, and you can then expect the longer balls to your forehand and loop. So these are great patterns, but if you feel like his returns are getting too strong or he's getting too comfortable, mix it up slightly. Try and do the serve right here. Try to do the serve right here. Try to shoot one long to his forehand. I wouldn't be surprised if you shoot one long right here and he's just sticking his paddle in the way if he just misses way out to the side. So continue with that variation and good things will happen. Just a little bit too big on the forehand still. That's fine. Yeah, a lot of it's technique now. So when you set up for the backhand loop, firstly, as a left-handed player, you don't want to have your left leg so far forwards. You want to try to keep your right leg forwards at almost all times, even on the backhand, as uncomfortable as it may be. If you look at table tennis from like the 80s and the 90s, you'd have these players, like left-handed players, and they would play the backhand with their left leg forwards, and then the ball would come to the forehand, and then they'd have time to switch and move their right leg forwards to play the forehand. In modern table tennis, you don't have time to do that. You just about always want to keep your right leg forwards, or at the very least on the backhand, keep your right leg and your left leg even. You very rarely want to have your left leg forwards. Now, of course, there are exceptions. There are some circumstances. If you go and watch professional matches, I'm sure you can find an instance where what I'm saying doesn't apply. But before you can break the rules, you have to understand the rules. Understand why it is less optimal to play like this than it is to play with your legs the other way around. Now, the other thing is you want to make sure you use your elbow as a pivot point. So right here, the distance between your elbow and your body changed way too much during the shot. So you returned. Now here, I mean, this is almost fine. What you would want to do is from this point, use your elbow as the pivot, and just the paddle rotates up and forwards. You don't want to push forwards with the shoulder. And the way to gauge it is the distance between your elbow and your body. So right here, your distance is pretty good. It's stable. By the time you finish your shot, you're way extended. And now there's this huge distance between the elbow and your body. And what that means is you've pushed with your shoulder instead of rotating with your elbow. And this is suboptimal because it means instead of brushing the ball and spinning and kind of contacting it at a tangent, you've hit more through the ball, which causes you to lose topspin and stability. So an easy way to gauge it is paddle should start below your elbow, paddle should finish above your elbow, but the elbow itself shouldn't move. So if you're just like at home watching this, take your arm in front of you, bring your hand below your elbow, and then how can you move your hand above your elbow without moving your elbow? Well, you just rotate the elbow and it stays in the same position, but you don't need to do anything with your shoulder to accomplish that. So everything stays nice and stable, and then it's a brush. It's a brush instead of a smack through the ball. And I'll try to find a clip and I'll put it on the screen now. Better. More confidence. I think you knew that was topspin and you were a little bit scared to go through it. If we go, I want to find it now. There was one where he was served to the backhand. I think it was the tomahawk serve. Yeah, it was this one. You see how you just met the ball to the paddle? And you didn't give it a second thought. You met the ball to the paddle. Yeah, you pushed instead of rotating, but the idea was perfect. I mean, it was just meet the ball to the paddle, super direct, and then wham, straight through the ball. I want you to have that level of confidence on the forehand, where it's just very direct and straight through the ball. Yeah, straight through the ball. If you miss, you miss. Game number 2. Yeah, your serves are so good. That's fine. That's a good shot on his end, and I will point it out just because it happened. There does come a point once you're at a certain level where it doesn't matter how much spin you can put on the ball. If it comes long to your opponent's forehand, they're just going to loop it. So don't stress about it right now. I honestly wouldn't even think about this point because the serve is so much better, but it is just worth pointing that out. Yeah, and the reason I say don't point it out or don't worry about it is I don't want you to, and this is extremely important, I don't want you to take away spin just to try and make the ball short. I want you to continue to put as much spin as possible on the ball and learn to serve short while maintaining that spin, instead of going back to hitting the ball softer just because you're scared they're going to loop. I'd rather you keep going for this maximum spin serve and just let it naturally get shorter over time, if that makes sense. But that's fine. I wouldn't worry about that. Clap your hands. He played a good shot. Move on. That's fine. Very good. That's fine. These are good misses. Yeah, a little bit tentative. I think I'll put it in your notes, but I think we're at a point now where you just need to be ready for third ball. Ready for third ball attacks on the balls where you're getting an opportunity. That's fine. That's a different action. But if he does it again, oh, you wanted to so badly. So I was gonna say, if he does it again, and you don't notice anything different, you better just go for it, because what if you got to lose? So it's like, I'd say first time, fine. Tricky serve, you misread it. Second time, similar action, why get tentative? Just go for it. You're fine. I'd rather you miss the serve going for it. I'd rather you lose 11-0, or not lose every point on your serve missing the serve going for high quality, than dink it. Yeah, backhand technique again. Everything is good up to this point. That's really good as well. If you look at the ready position, I can tell that you're ready for both, and then you're anticipating. And yeah, I really like the way you're approaching it here. But you're fine. But then from this point, the elbow needs to be right here, the paddle needs to be down here, and then the paddle needs to rotate this way. But instead, your paddle starts here, your elbow starts here, and your elbow and your paddle come forwards together, meaning that you're pushing from the shoulder. And this loss in spin and stability, where your arm is literally locked and completely straight after the shot, is why the ball is missing. You just don't have quite enough topspin on the shot. It's close, and your approach is really good, but that's why it's missing. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Again though, assume topspin. Assume, especially this. Assume topspin. That's good. You're really comfortable on the backhand. You just need that same approach on the forehand. Great serve. Nice, 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 nice. Come on, assume topspin. Assume topspin. Missing the net. Missing the net, if anything. Okay, he served underspin, but yeah, same mistake on the backhand. Your approach is fine. It's just technique. It's fine. Yeah. When he serves backspin, it's very clear. Nice, that's fine. That was better. That was better. Rather you miss like that than go for the push. Nice. Yeah, just need to get into the attacking mentality. That's fine, that's fine. It happens. Your pushes look great. Your actual like technique on the pushes, and I hope you are practicing it, because it's a very underrated shot, and you never want to be in a situation where your pushes aren't working, because good pushes set everything else up, and right now your pushes look exceptionally stable, so I don't want you to lose that. You just need to know now when to go for the attacks. But your game looks good. You're going to be easily 1500 in no time. Nice. That's fine. That's fine. Nice. That's fine as well. Yeah, you're playing well. Don't be afraid to give some variation on that backhand. And this is getting pretty advanced, but like all of your loops have been here. Loop one here. See what happens. And you'll probably win the point outright the first time you do it. That's fine. No, your opponent is playing very well, but you're also playing well, and I think you are capable of beating an opponent of this level very easily once we clean up some of these mistakes. Yeah, I think you'll be 1500 in no time. Alright, so let me go type up your notes and I'll be back. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about your notes. Firstly, I'm going to go ahead and check off all 3 of your notes from the last VOD review. I do feel like you have addressed these issues adequately, which means we can move on to some other stuff. And I think you said your goal was 1500, right? Yeah, 15. I think you're going to get to this absolutely no time at all. This is, you'll easily be able to attain this level once we keep addressing this stuff. But serves are a lot better. Don't neglect your serves, still practice them, because as you probably know now, having a good serve makes such a big difference. It's not a skill that you want to lose, and it's always good to have more variations. So the more you can practice your serves, the more variations you can have. Fast, slow, short, long, to one side of the table, to the other side of the table. The more variations that are high quality you can have, the better. But I do feel like this has been adequately addressed. So cross it off. Finger looked adequately addressed. I didn't see any issues where your finger was slipping up the paddle. So that is fine. And I think your serve returns look a lot better as well. I have a similar note about serve return, but I think the core issue where you just weren't sure what to do is fixed. So let's move on to the notes for today. And firstly, we're going to talk about your forehand technique against topspin. Now, there's 2 things. Firstly, we need to shorten the backswing. And second, we need to clean up the follow-through. And I would watch Timo Boll for reference, just because I know that against topspin he has a very, very crisp, compact shot in terms of where to start and where to finish. So make sure you limit your backswing. From the moment you're done pulling your paddle back, you just want to come through. You don't want to pull your paddle back and then kind of like pull it back a second time or continue to make adjustments and then go forwards. You want to try and pull your paddle back, and once that initial backwards motion is finished, you should be going forwards directly from that point. And then when you finish, you want to finish by your right eyebrow and freeze in that spot. And I want you to practice this with multi-ball. Very, very low rhythm multi-ball. And by low rhythm, I don't mean low velocity. The quality of each individual shot your practice partner gives you can be fast or high quality, but it should be like 1 ball every 2 seconds so that you can ingrain finishing by your right eyebrow in your muscle memory, and that will be your ready position. And then from there you can go back. And then once you get better at this, you can speed it up. But this is extremely important. We need to get this technique nice and crisp. And then once the technique is crisp, I'll give you some footwork drills. Or actually, yeah, I'll give you some footwork drills once it's crisp. But let's just focus on the technique first. Now for the backhand technique, you want to just use your elbow as the pivot point. The arm should not be going from bent to locked in a straight position as you play the shot. Instead, use the paddle in relation to your elbow as a guide. So you want to start with the paddle below your elbow and finish with it above your elbow, but don't push with the shoulder. I'd also say you're now at a point where I want to see you going for attacks when you get predictable long balls. Specifically, the one I want to see you go for the most is if you serve, and it's a really good serve, and they push long to your forehand. I want to see that ball attacked more than it's pushed. And the other instant I want to focus on is when they serve, you push, and they push back long to your forehand. Those are the two instances where I want to see you going for an attack almost every time, even if you miss. And then finally, I still want to see a little bit more confidence on the serve returns. So kind of the same points that I was talking about last time. Your backhand looks 100 times better, but the forehand is still kind of defaulting to this push, which results in a lot of pop-ups and high balls, so just a little bit more confidence there. But that's going to do it for this VOD review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and if it is, make sure to leave a big thumbs up. But if you guys have any questions, of course, leave comments down below. And if you're interested in a match review, make sure to join my Discord server where I have instructions. But thank you all again for watching, and until next time.